Yo, welcome to Music as a Day Job. I'm your host, Sean. I'm also the CEO of Qoncert, and Qoncert is the sponsor of Music as a Day Job. Qoncert is an artist accelerator app that takes artists from opener to headliner to on tour and gives the fan the opportunity to see some of the best live music in the world. Um, so, one of the things I always like to talk to artists about is like, are you built to be an artist? Now, let me start this off by saying, never quit, never quit. So even though you may fall in one of these categories or something like that, there's ways to figure out how to get out of this situation. So never quit. That's the first thing I always want to say is never quit. Keep going because you always find new things and new ways to be successful. So, are you built to be an artist, an independent artist? After you get past the first two stages, which is usually like, of course, creating music, being able to create music, find places that you can create music or buying it yourself, being able to get over that hump and being able to get to the point of actually doing shows and being able to put yourself out there to not have stage fright, etc. We'll talk about stage fright and things like that later. Uh there's three main categories that I always separate artists into to see if they're really built for being an artist at the current moment. Now they may not be at the current moment, and then they figure out how to get over it and get better. But there's three things they I call them. It's the professional opener, the headliner effect, and the tour grind. So it's at three different levels, and these levels are very like prominent in my app because there's openers, there's headliners, and there's people who are on tour. So I actually split my app into those pieces too. The professional opener is someone who gets content and comfortable opening all the time. And where this happens is that they either figure out that they end up like what happens is this, they end up getting to a point where they opened at shows and then they see the idea of opening for a national and then they just only want to jump on national shows because it comes with a fan base already built in. So then if I open up for this national dude, then I look like this all the time, but then it's not my show. So you're really not gaining fans. And this can kill a person's career just based on the idea that they consistently can only move around when they do this. And so you'll see them all the time have to be on like a national show all the time. It's never them as the headliner. It's always like this. And this starts because if they see a show that's an actual independent show, they don't like what that feels like because it might be less people in there or no people for them or something like that, and they don't get the responses they want, and they feel that's like a negative. But actuality is like if you're gaining, I've done shows where it'd be five people and I just gained my five fans, and I'm happy about that because there's five more people that next time when I come I might add five more, that's 10, and next time I might add 10 more, then that's 20. You see what I'm saying? Like that's how I see it, and that's how you should see it too, is like if there's not many people in the crowd, turn over the ones that are and then go from there. Next time, let's get better. Next time, let's grind it harder. So that's what happens to what the professional opener is. They end up becoming content with where they're at. They never try to move up and be that person that all the talk is about. And so they stay at this like spot all the time. And I feel like it ends up becoming comfortable because you don't have to do like it doesn't rely on your shoulders. So it's kind of like the easy way out to kind of be like, yo, I just do this like this and I never have to go crazy and do all the work myself. So don't allow that to get content with your career. Don't allow yourself to get content with that in your career because that is the quickest way to just end a career pretty fast. The headliner effect. Now this is crazy because the headliner effect is very rare because a lot of people who want to become a headliner are already on that move of like I'm it, like I'm pushing this, I'm pushing the envelope and I'm trying to grind like crazy. But every once in a while you find a person that's naturally popular or a person that like grinded for a while and then they get they start letting it go to their head. And see what happens is you become that headliner that first time or that second time or whatever like that, and then it's like they become like too good for it and they never grind ever again, which is the weirdest thing. I watch people, they become headliners and then they get that excitement at that one point and then it's like job well done. And that's really the beginning of this. That's like the beginning of this. So it's like you got to the point, and that's the beginning of your career. That's not really the anything else. Like that's the beginning of your career. You may have been a musician this whole time, but when you become the headliner, that's when the beginning of your career really starts as a person who makes money and lives off this. So then people will get to the headliner and just be like, yo, I'm good. You know what I'm saying? Because they feel content that, oh, yeah, I can be a headliner. Or it might be that one time and it just get to their head and they just believe it. They believe they're as dope as they're saying they are. And then they never work again. I watch dudes get to that point and like because that accolade is there, they never work again. They headline one big show in their city and it's like, man, I sold out this place one time and never again. And you never see it. And it's like, well, why didn't you keep your foot on the gas? Like that's the beginning. Like you got the momentum now. Like keep your foot on the gas now, you know? And I just always wondered that. Like, and I see it happen so many times. It's like, wow, like they believe what they're saying. Like they're like, oh man, I'm the king of this. And it's like, no, you just did one or two headliners. You're good. You know, you're good. But now for this to happen, for this to pay you for 20 years now, how many times do you think you got to do it? If this is your bread and butter, if your city, wherever your city is, if it's Denver, Phoenix, Salt Lake, LA, any of these places, New York, Pittsburgh, like anything, wherever you are in this world, if that's your bread and butter, if this is your hometown and your bread and butter, how many times you need to do that this year? Because if that's bringing in the majority of your money, you have to do it at least 4 times this year. So the consistency, like I talked in a previous video, becomes that's where you start seeing it. Is the consistency there? And when you see that drop off, that headliner effect, the consistency ain't there. And that's one sign of understanding if you're built for it is can you keep that consistency there to be that headliner all the time? Because it's going to take a lot to stay at that position. When you get to the top, everyone wants to be at the top. Can you stay at the top like that? Now, the last one is called the tour grind. And some people never face this because they get onto a deal and then the company controls it. And some people never get to the point of being on a tour, so they don't understand. Now, what the tour grind is you start seeing the truth. When you get to the headliner. Now, let's say you already man you the one in your city. You put 500 people in there. You put 300 to 500 in a spot. You do your thing. Then you go to another city and no one knows you, and you have to see yourself in a different space. Now you have to see yourself in the like back at the bottom working up. That hits people's minds different. That makes people go like, oh, the humbleness comes. And you then go like, I have to get back out here. I have to do this work. Like that's what I'm thinking. Like when you ready for this, that's the first thing you say. I remember I went to a city one time, there was 10 people in the crowd. I went to Greeley, 10 people in the crowd. First thing I said was, I got to be back here. Because here goes the crazy thing. It was 10 people in my crowd. And then I went up there and did a show with another independent artist from that area, probably like a couple months later. And this dude had like 100 people in the building. And I was like, I gotta be that. I gotta be that here, just like I'm in Denver. I have to be that there too. And that fueled me to keep going back and forth. Some people will look at that and they don't want that feeling because then you go back down to the undercard and then they can't play the undercard because the ego gets in the way. So that grind then becomes, do I want to work it? And then some people just don't want to do the work of the grind, like because now I got to keep staying on it. I got to stay on it and build it again in this city. Then I got to go to the next city and build it again. And then I got to build it again. And then I got to build it again. So you end up understanding what this grind is. And then you go like, am I built for this? Now that point is where you really understand. The other points I'd always say, keep pushing it, but really understand if this is what you want when you get to that tour grind and you understand, is this what you want with your life? Because it's a lot of dedication in that to live that life because it takes a lot of time, it takes a lot of effort, and you really have to want it if you decided to go that route. So always pay attention to these spots and then understand if like what's for you and what you need to adjust to move forward from being the professional opener to being the headliner to going on tour. Understand where you are and where you stand so you can move forward and be successful. Understand what you need to change to move forward to be successful and don't get trapped in being content at any three of these levels.